Well, Kentucky moved to 5-2 in the SEC with a bounce-back road win at Arkansas, winning 63 to 57 in Bud Walton Arena. Printed out that box score again, guys. Reed Sheppard and Antonio Reeves had 14 each in the second half comeback. They had 28 of 39 points after halftime, leading the Cats back from down 10 in the first half. It was a need-to-win game for Kentucky, and they responded. It was even more impressive that they didn't have Rob Dillingham, who was a late scratch right before tip-off. Also, Adu Thiero returned from his 7-game absence to replace Justin Edwards in the starting lineup. Edwards played, but Cal said he suffered a knee injury in practice on Thursday, which is why he moved out of the starting 5. But the Cats got the job done. That's the story. Thanks to Reeves and Reed Sheppard in the second half. Drew Franklin here with Jack Pilgrim, Zach Gagan for another KSR Rapid Reaction. Before we get started, if anyone here is from Reddit, I saw you found us last week and made fun of us, so welcome. You can join us again this week. Hello, everyone. Yeah, Jack, they were like, who are these bums? We went viral on Reddit last week.
I'm your bum, okay, Reddit?
If you're back from Reddit. Hi, Reddit. Thanks for being back. But we're going to talk a little Cats here because they won, even though we worried a little bit. Jack Pilgrim, let's just start with how this roster looked. Arkansas had a guy quit, Devo Davis. That was interesting. 5 minutes before tip-off. They had a couple, Brazil, or excuse me, not Brazil. Tremont Mark, couldn't think of his name. He did play, but we're focused on the Cats. What exactly happened with Rob Dillingham? Do we believe the Edwards knee? Adu's back. Jack, just before we get to the game, catch us up on what exactly went on with the roster right before tip-off.
Yeah, Rob with the shifts was Rob with the shits. Unfortunately, he was a little under the weather. I caught wind of that. When you can play on the
fart joke.
He was a little under the weather. Cal said that he woke up sick. I had heard the same thing, so it's not like he was the lie for radio or whatever. I'd heard it very, very ill. I was actually told that he was really considering it there for a while, and I kind of thought there was a chance he would end up playing, but ended up being a little bit too much. Cal said, this just ain't the game for you if you're not feeling up to 100%. And I would agree. Looking back at what we just saw, I completely agree. And I heard Justin, it was a knee issue that he suffered in practice on Friday is a legitimate thing. Crappy timing for him, a setback for a kid that doesn't really need a setback right now. And you could tell just nothing working again for Justin. But you know what? We're only talking about the positives here because as expected, this team's identity of just death by 1,000 cuts, just this defensive stopper. What a culture they're building on the defensive end of the floor, just as everybody expected, holding Arkansas to 33% shooting and 21% from three, just like everybody expected, a rock fight.
Well, I admit I was very concerned. I might have said a few bad words here in the Franklin household. Zach Gagan, Cats were down 10, I believe, on 2 occasions to an Arkansas team that even though they're up 10 twice, I refuse to believe they're a good basketball team. But luckily, Kentucky buckled down in the second half. But in the beginning, to me, it just seemed like there was still no flow in the offense, similar to what happened at South Carolina. Then they'd do things like throw it into Tre Mitchell and would just stand around looking at him. Just didn't seem like a cohesive unit again in that first half.
Yeah, the first half was probably the ugliest stretch of basketball we've seen all season. Honestly, maybe from both teams. Arkansas was just as bad. I think both teams shot 29%. They were combined 4 of 21 from 3 in that first half. Missed layups on Kentucky's side. I mean, they just couldn't get anything to go. And then Calipari, kind of switched things up in the second half. He locked into a 5-ish, pretty much a 5-man rotation that included Ugo over Aaron Bradshaw. He moved Reed Sheppard to the point guard. He just basically had Reed and Tre Mitchell running as many pick and rolls as possible, running Reeves around to try and get him open for threes. And that worked because there was just some cohesion there finally. Instead of just randomly kind of throwing players in and out, there was actually some connectivity between that group that was on the floor, and it worked. Like, you had DJ Wagner playing off ball. It just really wasn't his night to be able to turn the corner and get to that spot that he needs to. Whereas Reed Sheppard is just much better at driving and kicking, and that's pretty much how Kentucky won this game, was just Reed Sheppard driving and kicking, or him getting to the rim and making shots. You had Reeves hitting a bunch of big threes. Sheppard hit a bunch of big threes. I know Tre Mitchell had a couple of big threes. Mitchell, Reeves, and Sheppard combined for 34 of the 39 second half points. It was just those three. It was those three working. And then you had Ugo playing probably one of his better games of the season. I think he had 25 minutes. He did have 25 minutes. He was doing good or had some moments on defense where he was doing a great job of protecting the rim, just enough to deter this terrible, terrible Arkansas team from putting up more points, because we can say it as many times as we want. That Arkansas team is not any good. And you could tell even in the first half that Kentucky should have just been blowing out this team. I don't know what kind of has happened from that South Carolina game to the first half of this Arkansas game with the offense, but they kind of switched things around in that second half. 7 from 11 from 3 in the second half. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Mitchell, Reeves, and Sheppard lit it up in the second half. But since you brought up Ugo, I do want to celebrate Ugo in the second half. First half, he unfortunately had to take his first career three-pointer. That was not on him. I was very angry at that. That was more so the offense. Came down to the shot clock. He had to take it. I'm glad that wasn't the last we saw of Ugo, although it did almost go in. Second half, Ugo plays, I believe, 15 minutes in the second half, rebounding, blocking shots. But, Jack, the play that stood out to me is when he got it on the corner, put the ball on the court and went up with two hands and dunked on somebody's head. What about Ugo with a little move there? He told Jack Givens that there was no chance he wasn't going to dunk that. It was fun hearing him talk about that after the game in the radio interview. But big second half for Ugo.
And I'm glad that Cal pulled him to the side when he subbed him out and looked at him, smiled at him, and said, I'm proud of you. Because it does feel like with the 7-footers, something had to give somewhere, because South Carolina really wasn't any of the three. None of them were stepping up. We got the big flash from Big Z, against Georgia, but it does feel like as they return to full strength in the front court, it does feel like things have bogged down a little bit. The offense just isn't, living up to the standards of what we had seen 85% of the time leading up to that. So it was just good to have Ugo, kind of solidify himself in that rotation. And, I think he's, playing really, really good basketball. I think he has put together a nice little stretch here in 25 minutes, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. He was really, really solid all around. And, I think as Aaron Bradshaw's play kind of takes a dip and, he's dealing with foul issues, it's good to see somebody else kind of rise to the occasion in Ugo. And I appreciate Cal for kind of singling him out in that moment, because he really was terrific.
Reed Sheppard also terrific after a bad first half. I think he started 0 for 5. But it's not just that they were going in the second half. I love that he was aggressive. Part of that just had to happen without having Rob Dillingham. But it seemed he would have done that anyway, because Reed was really looking for a shot, even though there's a few times I think he could have been even more aggressive. But 12 shots for a guy that had 13 in conference play up to this point. I'm glad he showed some assertion and then really got it going in the second half. He didn't get shy away from it after missing his first 5 shots. Zach or Jack, whoever wants this, I guess I don't understand the rules of basketball. Last week you all explained the cylinder to me, and I thought I got it. I'm like, you know what? Look at this. Moving on with knowledge straight from the rapid reaction. I know what the cylinder rule is. One basketball game later, I'm back to not knowing what we're doing. Was that not what happened last week? Just flipped? What? Does anybody understand?
I mean, I don't know the difference. I still am not quite sure what the cylinder rule is. Like you, Drew, I thought I kind of understood it, but it just feels like kind of an arbitrary thing right now where you're just going to get – and Jay Billis, too. By the way, I'm not sure he was watching the same game as us, because he was just saying things that weren't happening there. He said that Tre, got the guy in the chin. He didn't. I think he got him kind of like down here. I mean, I think that is a flagrant foul on Tre there, but I don't understand the difference between what happened against Tre in the last game. So it's confusing how it all worked out. And then you have the refs blowing plays dead where a guy gets a cramp on him. Tre Mitchell was about to shoot the basketball when the refs called that play dead. They let it, like, if you're going to call that play dead, do it at half court when Kentucky's just now getting it. Not when they've moved it around twice and you've got a guy about to shoot an open 3. There were definitely some questionable calls here, but I won't focus on the refs too much. Other than that, I want to
focus on that one. I went back and I hit the rewind. He literally called a timeout to the ref while he was laying on the ground as Kentucky has the ball and he's going the other way. I don't think you can do that. And then they get to the other end. It's a 4-on-5. I guess there's a rule if the other team looks like they're not trying to take advantage of it and it's just passing around the perimeter, they'll blow it dead. But it looked like Kentucky was about to get some free points there, and it seemed to be taken away, Jack. Even the announce crew who I didn't agree with a lot tonight. They were even calling that out, saying it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, no, Drew, you're trying to not get sued again, but I thought the refs were terrible. Like, I really thought they were abysmal from start to finish. I thought every little ticky-tack thing was called on Kentucky, and UK would have to go and get clobbered in the head for them to even be like, all right, I guess. But it was nonsense. I hated every second of it. We're being gaslit by the officials and the announcers with the cylinder thing. I love how Tuesday night, 4 days ago, we hear the announcers as it was happening. Oh, well, that's clearly a cylinder foul. That's absolutely going to get overturned. And it, like, as we're unfolding, we're like, yeah, we definitely know what this was, and we definitely knew what it was before you just brought it up so matter-of-factly. And then Jay Billis doesn't even bring it up like the cylinder rule even exists. Goes, yep, that's going to definitely get upgraded to it. There is no difference between those two things, except for Tre Mitchell getting elbowed in the face against South Carolina and then getting a to the chest tonight. Nonsense. Yeah, these refs were awful, and it doubled down with the stupid blowing it dead with the cramps. I was very, very frustrated.
And read Sheppard's block.
Yeah, clean completely. Just
that too.
Terrible refs.
SEC refs. So what's next, guys? Actually, I won't even talk about what's next. Jack, what's the lineup look like next? Well, is this Edwards' lingering knee issue affect the five?
I mean, I don't, knee or not. I mean, something was clearly working down the stretch where you were started, as Zach said earlier, you were starting to kind of see that chemistry build with one another again. And that's all I care about. It just has to be the ball has been sticking for whatever reason. Cal kept throwing that stat out after UNC Wilmington, how they had 40 possessions of 1 or 0 passes. And it felt like the last 2 games, we just continue to get back to that. And for whatever reason, the second half, Reed Sheppard taking over as the lead guard, it felt like it just kind of was free flowing again, the way we had seen leading up to, this terrible stretch of a couple games. So I hope Cal, I appreciate in the second half, he kind of rode that wave and rode it through the finish line, and it led to a victory. So if I'm in Cal's shoes, I'm not holding any hands. I'm not apologizing. This is Kentucky basketball. We got to go with the best players, and I think we saw that 5 down the stretch.
We'll worry about how that looks later in the week. Cal might even be saying something right now on radio. We'll see. I guess they're home on Wednesday against Florida. We'll worry about that one later. Right now, we got to celebrate beating Arkansas. I don't care how bad they are. When you win in Bud Walton, what's that now? 61 points for Antonio Reeves. That's his building now. And I want to add something. If there are any Arkansas fans here joining us, I hope they are. This is what you get for booing a baby. You didn't lose. You didn't lose the game in the second half. You didn't lose the game in the beginning. You lost the game at 11:15 a.m. this morning when you booed a baby. So this is exactly what you deserve. You deserve to be a one-loss team in the SEC. You deserve to have guys quitting before tip-off. You deserve to have L. Ellis on your team. You deserve all the stuff that's happening to you because you booed a baby, and that's why you are some of the worst fans in the country, and Kentucky got another win on your court. It's not even your court anymore. It's Antonio Reeves' court. I'm Drew Franklin. This is Jack Pilgrim. Zach Gagan. Cats got a good bounce-back win. We'll move on to Florida, see what that looks like then. But for now, we're happy, we're celebrating, and we're thankful that you joined us on the KSR YouTube channel. We'll see you next time. Go Cats.
Shout out